If you try to figure out not what they think, but how they think, then you basically learn to fish, not just got the fish. For a long time, a lot of people want to meet with Warren Buffett. A lot of people, I'm sure Warren Buffett was invited to speak at a lot of conventions or a lot of get-togethers. He always declined it. But at the same time, Warren Buffett would welcome a group of students that would come to Omaha, and he would spend almost an unlimited amount of time with them.
Pick out the car of your choice. Sounds good, doesn't it? Pick it out, any color.
When asked why he does it, he said, because the young mind, these people want to learn. The older folks, they just want to get stock tips. There's a very important insight in this, because when you listen to Warren Buffett, or when you listen to anybody you admire, it doesn't have to be Buffett, anybody, if you try to figure out not what they think, but how they think, then you basically learn to fish, not just got the fish. And I think that is so important. Let me give you a couple of examples of this. Warren Buffett, who is almost 93, 94 years old, he grew up at a time where there was very little technology. He lived most of his life where there were no personal computers. He basically refused for a long time to invest in technology companies, even though his best friend is Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft. And his argument was that he just doesn't understand technology, which kind of makes sense. Okay, I heard, the irony of this story is that I've seen a lot of young people who would basically say, I'm not going to buy technology stocks because I don't understand it. They parroted basically Warren Buffett's words, and they didn't realize what they should have learned from this was that you should only invest in your circle of competence. So in other words, they should have learned to think like Buffett. And thinking like Buffett was the big lesson there was not that you should not buy technology stocks or that you don't understand technology stocks. The message was you should know what your circle of competence is and you should invest inside the circle of competence. The interesting twist to the story is this. In 2018 and 2019, Warren Buffett made Apple, which is a technology company, as his largest position in his portfolio. And he made more money on Apple as a single investment than I think he has made on any stock he ever owned before. I'm talking about dollar terms, not percentages. There is a lot of lesson in this, that you have a circle of competence and you can also grow your circle of competence. But Warren Buffett's insight was actually very unique. He saw Apple as a company with an incredible brand and pricing power. And there is another twist to the story. We bought Apple at our clients' accounts, and I personally did as well, in 2012. At that time, Apple was one of the most hated companies on Wall Street. And my insight at the time was people looked at Apple as just as a cell phone company. And the history of cell phone manufacturers going broke is very long, from Nokia to BlackBerry and many others to Motorola. My insight about Apple at the time was that Apple is a lot more than just a hardware company. It's a hardware company, it's also a software company, it's also an ecosystem. And therefore, once you buy Apple product, you're gonna keep, the next product you're gonna buy is gonna be Apple product as well. Because once you learn the Apple operating system, switching to Android is like, it's like switching to learn a new language. Also, Apple products work so well together that once you have 5 Apple products, introducing the 6th one that's not Apple product, it just doesn't work well, that ecosystem. So we made a lot of money on Apple. But then I sold it. I think we owned it for 6 or 7 years. We made plenty of money in the stock, but I analyzed Apple and I had a couple insights, I thought. One insight was that Apple has struggled to basically create new categories of products under Tim Cook. And I think still that insight is right. In other words, partially right. Because Apple tried to create an Apple car and failed at that miserably. But what was interesting about the way it failed, it changed its strategy 4 times. So Tim Cook is not Steve Jobs. So my thinking was, when you look at Apple, everybody already has a cell phone. It's very difficult for Apple to grow its revenue significantly without creating a new category. So I was partially right, but I was also wrong because Apple has done a terrific job of creating a new category in software by creating Apple TV, by creating News Plus, etc. So they created services. They've done a good job there. The mistake I want to talk about is actually where Buffett was right and I was wrong. And when I was analyzing Apple and I was modeling Apple's future revenues, I was actually reducing prices for Apple's iPhones, because historically consumer electronics prices always declined. And this is where Buffett was right, because Apple has such a strong brand. When they raise the prices by a few $100, people complain about it for about 5 minutes and then they pay. The lesson for me was, what I learned from Buffett is not that I should have buy Apple stock. What I learned from Buffett is that when you look at the company, so there are a lot of times there are many ways to look at it. My mental model was correct when we bought the stock, but then Apple has changed. And also the brand was always there. The Apple brand's ability to charge more for the products than everybody else was always there. I just missed that. So the punchline, if you find somebody you admire, don't just copy what they think, but learn and figure out how they think. That's it. Hey, thank you for watching this video. If you want to learn more about life, classical music, philosophy, and investing, make sure to subscribe to my articles and visit investor.fm. Thank you.